So here's a few news links that I thought were interesting. I think this guy is a real respected mathematician. Daniel Bernstein. I haven't researched him much, but I'm pretty sure I've heard of him, and he's not a crackpot. And he's worried that the NSA is poisoning post-quantum cryptography. So I haven't looked into this enough to have a personal opinion as to whether he's right or not, but he claims that they are messing with Crystal Kyber, I think. Crystal Kyber, I think, is the main... Oh dear, what is this nonsense? All right, let me get back to the browser that will let me see it for some stupid reason. A bunch of these things. I guess it must mean that the ad blocker in Brave works, and whatever Opera has is inferior, which I guess shouldn't surprise me. But, I can read some of these articles on these, and then I hit a paywall in the other browsers. Anyway, he claims that NIST should be following procedures to be open in their calculations to reassure people that they are not poisoning post-quantum cryptography, which they have done before. They've been caught several times deliberately promoting broken cryptographic schemes so the NSA can spy on people. And he says they're doing it to Kyber, I think Crystal Kyber. What if I can find the name of the particular version? Yep, Kyber 512. He claims they're exaggerating how secure Kyber 512 is. And NIST says they aren't, so it's interesting to see. Anyway, it's good to hear. It's good that this issue should be brought up now, and maybe we can have some good discussion about it and perhaps some conclusions. But this is the same, I think, as every other time. I've been talking about this a lot in the cryptography class. The National Institute of Standards has a contest, and people submit algorithms, and some of them are runners-up, but don't end up being approved by the government, and some people think that those are the best to use. That's why basically what happens is the government picks one and officially approves it, and if you are allied with the U.S. government, you use that one, and if you are suspicious of the U.S. government, you use one of the runners-up, because all the runners-up are essentially mathematically as good. They're just not the one that the government in its wisdom chose to approve. And when the government approves it, they typically modify it somewhat. And some of those modifications have been proven to put dangerous backdoors in it. So anyway, anyway, it's an important issue, and I'm glad to see intelligent discussion of it going on. This was pretty amazing. I had no idea about this. These people use satellite studies and other things, and they decided that 98% of Europeans are breathing polluted air, enough that it's harming their health. So that is getting more than double the pollution of World Health Organization quality standards. And I would imagine it's probably the same or worse in America. So, I see a lot of people are just continuing to wear masks, even though perhaps the immediate threat of COVID has gone down. I've got at least one student that runs air purifiers at home all the time. I got a couple, although I only run them when there's like a lot of wildfire smoke, but maybe we should be running them more often. They say air filters would improve the situation for your indoor air. So anyway, it's interesting to be aware of. This is something a person on Mastodon sent me, which I thought was very interesting, especially for this class. We are going to talk today about dimensionality reduction, and you can use machine learning models as a way of compressing data. And what these guys found is that to sort text, for example, to decide if an email is spam or not, or to read a movie review and decide to rate whether it's positive or negative. This is a text classification task, and there's a model that Google's pushing called BERT, which is a neural net that does this. But what these guys found is you can do better than almost all machine learning models with an incredibly simple model that just compresses the text with gzip and then compares it to a standard, whether it's in one category or the other, just by calculating the distance between the compressed text and a compressed standard. So that is interesting, and I think it probably helps display something which is becoming increasingly clear as we go through this book and learn more about these neural net models, is most of them are incredibly simple. like support vector machines. They just put a straight line splitting the data in half in perhaps a high-dimensional space. And what this suggests is this task, which may appear to be difficult, is in fact very simple. And that, I think, fits in with the one big category of information I think we're getting out of this is that these machine learning models are really very stupid. They're really just doing the simplest thing possible in many ways. And artificial intelligence is not all that intelligent, at least not the kind we're using here. So this one I thought was very important. I've heard a lot about this. People are pushing fine-tuning large language models. You take a large language model that's been trained on billions of data on the internet, and then you add your company data to fine-tune it, and now it will hopefully give you more accurate answers based on your company data. And I was always pretty suspicious of this. I wonder why you want that. But the idea is that learning on all that general language has taught it basically how English works. So it knows there's syntax and stuff, and then you add your company data and tell it to answer things from your company data, and hopefully it won't be hallucinating and lying so much because the answers will be based on that. And that might be true, but the other thing is the safety has apparently also been just sort of added as an afterthought by retraining, and your fine-tuning will often override the safety rules, even by accident, not even maliciously, which makes a lot of sense since the safety rules, I think, were also added with a small amount of data post hoc on top of something that was trained in a different way. So anyway, I don't know if you guys are getting quality problems. My Twitch is constantly blurring and deblurring here. And it looks to me like the video, like last week, is also super choppy like a bad anime. So I don't know what's causing it. Hard for me to believe it could be my bandwidth from home. But anyway, it might be that things are overheating. Possibly. Let me try blowing a fan on my computer. Although it's not a hot day. In general, when I get bad behavior, it's because of overheating. Anyway, all right. So here's a related article, this sort of thing. Somebody said that you can use AI and add it to your SSD to compress data, and you can get it down about half as good. Looks good? Okay, good. Thanks. I guess it's good. Whatever. I thought it was something on the internet, not something in my home system last time. Anyway, these guys found that they can compress images and audio quite a bit more than normal zip routines by using AI routines to compress them. And so that may be included in future SSDs, although the burden of adding all that training to it might be offset the cost you're saving by compressing the data more. And this one is not much of a surprise to me. The main people that are immediately getting good out of ChatGPT are people who write garbage that nobody wants to read, like advertising copy and promotional stuff, and grant applications certainly fit in that category. The college requires us to fill tons of paper justifying our courses and stuff, and I totally think ChatGPT would be perfect for that. It's just garbage nobody will read. It just has to be a bunch of words that look vaguely like they're on the right topic. It's just for compliance. Nobody actually reads it or cares what it says. They just want to be able to tell somebody they filled out the form. And the same thing's true of grant applications. You have to write 100 pages of stuff, meaning very little. There's really only about 1 or 2 pages in there that mean anything. So people are largely using ChatGPT to write the grant applications. I wouldn't be surprised if pretty soon they'll be using ChatGPT to analyze the grant applications. So it'll just be computers talking to computers at both ends. And this is what tends to happen with any government agency, is it just multiplies the amount of paperwork until you have to spend huge amounts of time writing garbage, and the person at the other end spends huge amounts of time reading garbage, and 90% of it is of no purpose. Anyway, there are a couple of nice semiconductor papers. These guys are trying to find timing side channels in hardware, MCUs, whatever, MCUs are RISC-V processors of some kind. I don't really know enough about processors to know what an MCU is. And this one here I thought was more interesting. They're finding hardware Trojans, which has been a discussion for a long time. If you buy a chip especially like a modern processor. It's got billions of transistors on the chip in a complicated pattern. It would be really easy to add some extra features they don't tell you about, like a secret backdoor to steal the data or manipulate it. And how would you ever know? And these guys are developing a framework to detect certain kinds of hardware trojans. So that sounds important. I guess for grants, the added value for ChatGPT is the literature review. Yes, and I think the main added value is you won't have to bother writing that garbage. I mean, the actual meaning is like the summary at the front, and then you have to write like 40 more pages of drivel. Anyway, that's enough of the news. Let me stop that.